Dinner would be the best way for them to get to know each other better and make their fake relationship seem more real. The restaurant they chose had a cozy atmosphere with soft lighting and charming decor. When Clara walked in, Daniel smiled and said, "Hi, Clara. You look great." "Hi, Daniel. Thank you. And you? Ready for our big performance? Let's have dinner together," Daniel suggested. "It'll be a great opportunity to get to know each other better." Clara agreed. "I've always dreamed of using technology to solve real-world problems," she replied. "So, Clara, before anything else, we need to get to know each other better," Daniel said seriously. "Try me," she replied. "Let's start with a bottle of wine," Daniel said. "I'm ready," Clara replied. They sat down. Soon the food arrived at the table. "World problems. That's what motivates me to work hard," Clara answered. "Feeling at ease. That's great," Daniel commented. Genuinely impressed. As the conversation continued, the table filled with stories and laughter. Daniel realized that Clara was much more than the simple, innocent employee he had assumed. With every answer she gave, his admiration for her grew. "How do you think it will feel to act like a perfect couple during the presentation?" he asked playfully. "I hope we can do it smoothly. Everyone wants to impress the client," Clara replied with a laugh. The growing emotion made her think more deeply about the risky parade. After more stories, the light admiration for her grew. "How do you think it will feel to act as the perfect couple during the presentation?" he asked teasingly. "I hope we can pull it off smoothly. Everyone wants to impress the client," Clara replied with a laugh. The growing emotion made her think more deeply about the risky parade. After more stories, the light-hearted mood shifted. A woman with an elegant posture and piercing gaze approached. It was Mariana. One of Daniel's ex-girlfriends. Approached with an elegant posture and a piercing gaze. "Hello, Daniel. I heard you brought a date," she said, with a smile that didn't seem friendly. Mariana turned to Clara, who was visibly confused. "Nice to meet you. I'm Mariana, a representative of Dysnesia Inc." She introduced herself, extending her hand. Clara shook Mariana's hand, feeling uncertain. "So you're working for the competition now?" Mariana said, her tone clearly cold. "Yes. They made me an excellent offer. I decided to take it." "We should go where?" Mariana, one of Daniel's ex-girlfriends, approached with a confident posture and a sharp gaze. "We wanted Mariana," she replied mysteriously. "Excuse me. Everyone. I have a presentation to prepare." "I'm sure you do too. May the best win." With that, she walked away, leaving an air of mystery behind. "Do you know her?" Clara asked Daniel as soon as Mariana left. "We dated briefly. Before that, she worked for me. The relationship didn't work out. She quit," Daniel explained, visibly uncomfortable. "Could she ruin our plan?" Clara asked, her concern evident. "Yes. She might." Mariana, one of Daniel's ex-girlfriends, approached with a determined air. "I'll do my best in this role," Clara assured him, placing her hand on his to show support. "I believe that together we can win this project," Daniel said, squeezing her hand. The tension after Mariana's revelation lingered in the air. They were both determined to keep their composure. The dinner ended with a mix of uncertainties and renewed determination. They left the restaurant ready for what lay ahead. Mariana, one of Daniel's ex-girlfriends, approached with an elegant posture and piercing gaze. Despite the unexpected twist, the future they were planning now seemed more uncertain. The parade could turn into a true test of trust between them. Clara knew that for it to work, they needed to play their roles well. What would happen if reality blurred with their act? The challenge was ahead. Now it was time to act. The 2 days after the dinner were intense. Clara and Daniel spent hours together. Not just rehearsing their lines and behavior as a couple. Mariana approached with an elegant posture and piercing gaze. She was one of Daniel's ex. They were fully immersed in preparing the presentation. They dedicated time to studying the client, understanding their needs and expectations, crafting an effective strategy to demonstrate how their project could meet those demands. The tension between them was palpable. There was also a growing connection. Clara often found herself feeling at ease in Daniel's company. Something she hadn't expected at the start. Daniel, on the other hand, began to. Mariana's presence brought a fresh perspective to Daniel's life and work. He saw her not just as a smart colleague but as someone special. Over the next few days, Daniel and Clara worked on a presentation. They laughed and debated about the best approach. On the day of the presentation, Clara woke up early, feeling refreshed but also nervous. The task ahead could determine the company's success and the credibility of the act they had been maintaining. As she got ready, her heart Mariana hurried to the hotel restaurant. Daniel arrived with a serious look on his face. Clara noticed the tension in his shoulders. They sat at a reserved table and quickly went over the final details of the presentation. Despite the pressure, there was a sense of anticipation in the air. As they ate, the conversation was light but the tension was evident. They discussed the presentation. Clara noticed that Daniel was trying to get Mariana's approach made Daniel curious about her. He asked her questions about her life, dreams, challenges. This made Mariana feel more at ease. Clara realized that Daniel's questions were not just part of the plan. They were a genuine effort to connect with her. I think we're ready to impress the client. What are you most hoping to hear from them? Daniel asked, trying to lighten the mood. I hope they recognize our effort and the quality of our work. That's what this is all about. Right? Mariana replied. Clara replied with a smile. The fun breakfast ended as the time for the presentation got closer. Everyone was excited. Daniel presented the products in a clear and effective way. During the presentation, Clara offered helpful ideas. He watched her, impressed by how dedicated she was to the work. A new connection was growing between them, different from the first plan. As the presentation continued, Clara started to feel a wave of doubt. Everything felt fake. The relationship they had built was not real. Business purposes. It might not be so simple. Emotions were blending. The line between professional and personal was starting to blur. After the presentation, Daniel approached Clara and smiled. The attention he had shown her earlier in the day seemed to have been replaced with relief. You did great, he said sincerely. Everyone was impressed with your contributions. Thank you, Daniel, Clara replied. Your leadership helped me feel more confident. Your ex-Mariana was here, Daniel said, trying to keep the conversation focused on work. A girlfriend and business competitor approached, offering sarcastic praise. Well. Look at this. She said. The CEO and his girlfriend nailed the presentation. Someone's really having fun. At that moment, one of the directors from the potential client's company approached, interrupting Daniel before he could respond to Mariana's provocation. You two make a great couple. The director said. I always prefer working with families. It builds more trust. He shook Daniel's hand. Daniel smiled awkwardly. Clara felt a chill. Her stomach. The situation made her worry that their plan could be exposed and everything could fall apart. She wondered what would happen if her feelings for Daniel became real. The more she got to know him, the more attracted she felt. She reminded herself that it all had to remain strictly business. Feeling conflicted, Clara stepped away from the conversation, trying to process her emotions. Let's go out and celebrate the success of the presentation, Daniel suggested enthusiastically, unaware of the turmoil in Clara's thoughts. She nodded. The seriousness of the situation made her pause. Was this connection real? Was it just part of the game they were playing? As they walked, Clara thought about what the future might hold for them. She had doubts. A small voice inside her whispered that something special might be growing between them. Despite the original plan, that thought only deepened her confusion. Clara couldn't stop thinking about the director's comment about families working better together. His words echoed in her. He should have emphasized how complicated her feelings for Daniel were. She saw him as more than just a boss or an ally in a business plan. She saw him as someone with whom she shared part of her life, even if that part was built on small lies. Daniel, on the other hand, was excited about the presentation's success. Something bothered him. Mariana had always been competitive. Her presence there could cause problems in the future. He knew he should focus on the results. He couldn't stop thinking about her. Clara was lost in thought. Hey. Are you okay? He asked as they walked through the hotel lobby after the event. Clara nodded, pulling herself out of her thoughts and back to the present moment. Yes. I am. It's just, all of this feels like a lot, Clara admitted, trying to be honest without revealing the turmoil inside her. Daniel nodded, understanding the weight of the moment. I get it. We did a great job today. I'm sure the client is going to love our plans, he assured her, attempting to comfort her. Let's play a little game with the people who only read the comments. Type pizza in the comments. Only those who make it this far will get it. Now, let's continue the story. As they left the event, Daniel suggested taking a walk around the city before heading to the celebratory dinner. Clara agreed, thinking a stroll might help clear her mind. As they walked through the brightly lit streets, the tension from their responsibilities began to fade, replaced by a lightness they both needed. You know, Clara, when I first met you, I guess we ended up here pretending to be a couple to make a business deal happen, Daniel said with a smile. Life is strange, isn't it? Clara laughed and shook her head. They started to feel more comfortable talking, moving past the professional topics and the obligations that had brought them together. They talked about dreams they hadn't fulfilled, places they wanted to visit, even fears they rarely shared with others. Every word seemed to bring them closer, as if the act of pretending only made the truth more genuine. Connection. As the evening went on, Clara realized that the relationship born from a professional agreement was turning into something unexpected. She was also afraid of losing herself in these feelings. When they arrived at the restaurant, Clara hesitated at the door, her thoughts full of uncertainty. "Thank you for today, Daniel. It was special," she said, looking into his eyes, trying to understand what she saw there. Daniel smiled, his gaze reflecting a mix of gratitude and something more. "The pleasure was mine. No matter what happens. Clara. I want you to know that I really admire your talent and courage." Daniel's words were sincere and meaningful. They left Clara speechless. As they entered the restaurant and sat at their table, she couldn't take her eyes off him. The dinner was a celebration of the success of the presentation and of the spark igniting between them. Clara felt a growing tension as she sat near Daniel, with each moment by his side. The confusion in her heart intensified. What was supposed to be a moment of joy turned into an internal battle as separating her emotions from the act they were putting on seemed increasingly difficult. They had to act like a happy couple. Clara struggled to keep the pretense from becoming real. The line between fake and Clara felt a growing tension as she sat near Daniel, with each moment by his side. The confusion in her heart intensified. What was supposed to be a moment of joy turned into an internal battle as it became increasingly difficult for her to separate her emotions from the act they were putting on. They had to act like a happy couple. Clara struggled to keep the pretense from becoming real. The line between fake and genuine was thinner than ever. The emotional strain was starting to show. Daniel, on the other hand, appeared more focused on the results than the emotions swirling around him. He looked at Clara with a smile that made her nervous, stirring feelings she preferred to keep under control. "Is everything okay?" he asked, gazing into her eyes intensely. "Yes. I'm worried about the possibility of being discovered. It's hard to maintain this image with so many people watching," Clara replied, trying to keep her voice steady while feeling her vulnerability grow. Daniel nodded, understanding her concern. The pressure wasn't only on Clara, he too was aware of the stakes. Yet in his mind, work always took precedence. Clara felt exposed in her own insecurities. Meanwhile, Mariana, Daniel's business rival and ex-Mariana, Daniel's business rival and ex-girlfriend, sat at a nearby table, observing the couple's every move. Her smirk showed that she knew Daniel's past well. Mariana's previous relationship with Daniel and their shared work experience gave her an advantage that she wasn't hesitant to exploit. With calculated moves, she had become an unwelcome presence, seemingly intent on causing trouble between Clara and Daniel. Mariana stood and, with confident steps, approached the couple. "Well, look who we have here," she said. Mariana sat at a nearby table, watching the couple closely. She knew Daniel's past well. She was ready to use it to her advantage. With calculated moves, she had become an unwelcome presence, seemingly intent on causing trouble between Clara and Daniel. Mariana stood and, with confident steps, approached the couple of the moment. "Daniel, you certainly have great taste in girlfriends. I hope she's up to the task," she said, her provocative tone hitting Clara like a blow. Mariana's words only deepened Clara's insecurity. Daniel tensed but responded with a controlled smile. "Thank you, Mariana. And you? What have you been up to?" "I was thinking of inviting you to our next event after we win this project from your company." Mariana wasn't fazed and continued her. Mariana sat at a nearby table, watching the couple. She knew Daniel's past well. She was determined to use it to her advantage. She had become an unwelcome presence, seemingly intent on causing trouble between Clara and Daniel. Mariana stood and approached the couple. You know, Daniel, it's not easy maintaining a relationship with everyone watching. But it's always interesting to see a CEO use his personal life to distract the competition. She was certain there was something off about their relationship and was determined to uncover the truth and expose Daniel. The tension grew. Clara felt the need to step in. We're here to do business. Right. Let's focus on what really matters. Her comments. Mariana, sitting at a nearby table, watched the couple closely. She knew Daniel's past well. She was determined to use it to her advantage. With calculated moves, she had become an unwelcome presence, seemingly intent on causing trouble between Clara and Daniel. Mariana stood and, with confident steps, approached the couple. Well, look who we have here, she said, trying to provoke them. The conversation, which should have been light and fun, turned into an emotional battlefield. Clara felt vulnerable and determined to protect her space. She also didn't want to create more conflict. Let's get back to our meal, Daniel interjected, trying to end the interaction. Defeated, Mariana returned to her table. The sting of her words lingered in. Mariana sat at a nearby table, watching the couple closely. She knew Daniel's past well. She was not going to let that go. Mariana had become an unwelcome presence. She was doing everything she could to cause trouble between Clara and Daniel. Mariana stood up and walked over to the couple. Well, look who we have here, she said. Clara watched Daniel closely, trying to figure out what he was thinking. As dinner continued, the discomfort persisted. Clara was tired of the situation. What had started as a fun game and a chance for professional growth now felt like a minefield of emotions where every step could set off an explosion. She realized that interactions with Mariana were constant reminders that the parade couldn't last forever. Determined to clarify, Mariana, the girlfriends, sat at a nearby table and watched the couple. She knew Daniel's past well. Mariana had an advantage because of their previous relationship and shared work experience. She wasn't going to let that go. She made moves to become an unwelcome presence. She seemed to want to cause trouble between Clara and Daniel. Mariana stood and walked toward the couple. Clara decided to set aside her instinct to shield the relationship and confront Daniel directly. Why did you really want to do this? Was it just to distract the competition? Was there more to it? Her voice carried questions and doubts, each one pressing harder than the last. Daniel's answers could change everything between them. Daniel looked at her seriously, the atmosphere thickening. You know, Clara, I didn't expect Mariana to show up. Mariana, the girlfriend, sat at a nearby table, watching the couple closely. She knew Daniel's past well. She was not shy about using that information. Mariana had a clear plan. She was ready to cause trouble between Clara and Daniel. Mariana stood up and walked toward the couple. Hey! Look who we have here, she said, trying to be friendly. I want to win this project. He took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. Nothing else matters right now. I feel like our relationship is becoming more complicated. I need to be honest with you. We need to be clear with each other. What we're doing could have real consequences. If we're trying to build something. Mariana sat at a nearby table, watching the couple. She knew Daniel's past well. Mariana had an advantage because of their previous relationship and shared work experience. She wasn't going to let that go to waste. She made moves to make Clara and Daniel fight. Mariana stood up and walked toward them. "Look who we have here," she said. "We need to decide which direction to take." As they spoke, Clara realized that the lines between the parade and their feelings were beginning to blur in ways they hadn't expected. The future they envisioned seemed to depend on how much sincerity they could show each other. The confrontation with Daniel during dinner left Clara unsettled. She spent the night thinking about his words and wondering about his intentions. What had begun as a plan to win a client? Things were getting more and more complicated. Clara felt she could no longer ignore her feelings. The tension between them was getting worse. Every day, the pretense they had created to hide their relationship was becoming clearer. It was showing deeper truths and conflicting desires. The next morning, Clara decided to deal with the issue directly. During breakfast, she sat at the table with Daniel. He appeared more relaxed after the previous night's chaos. He smiled as he poured his coffee. Clara noticed something else in his expression. It was as if he was carefully thinking about his words. Trying to figure out what everything meant. "Daniel, we need to talk," Clara began. Determined. "We can't keep going like this. What we're doing isn't just about business." Daniel looked at her, surprised. "What are you talking about?" Clara took a deep breath and gathered her thoughts. Her words needed to be clear. She wanted to choose them carefully. We're pretending to be a couple. Things are getting complicated that I don't know where this is heading." Her intention was clear. Uncertainty clung to every sentence. Daniel frowned. "We're just following the plan." "Yes. That's the problem," Clara responded, her voice tinged with frustration. "Mariana called our relationship a sham. Now I feel like I'm losing control. What do we really want? Did you choose me just for this? Is it really not personal?" Daniel averted his eyes as if processing her words. "Clara, I know this was a strategy. Over the course of this trip, you've become important to me that I didn't want things to turn out this way." Feelings change. His sincerity struck a chord with Clara. It also stirred her insecurity. "Change how?" Clara asked, crossing her arms as if trying to shield herself from the emotions surging to the surface. "You just wanted to use this to distract the competition, didn't you? I'm just a piece in your game." Daniel hesitated before answering. The weight of the situation was written on his face. "I thought you agreed to this," he said. "I did. You said it yourself." Feelings change. Mine have changed a lot. Clara sighed, feeling the tension between them spike. "I thought this would be an easy trick. A way to buy time. Now I'm not sure if it's just a game," Daniel confessed, his gaze distant. The atmosphere between them was heavy with insecurity. The honesty finally spoken sent a chill through Clara. What if this is more than just work? What if everything we're building is more real than we thought? I don't want to just be a tool for you. Clara's vulnerability was evident in her words, leaving her feeling exposed. I never wanted you to feel that way, Daniel said, trying to be sincere. I liked you, Clara. What started as a plan has become something I value. I can't just throw it all away. With a trembling voice, Daniel revealed a part of what he felt, and the barrier they had built between them began to crumble. Clara felt a mix of hope and doubt. The idea that Daniel might feel something for her was confusing. The reality of their courage still loomed, making the situation even more complicated. That we need to reevaluate our plans, Clara said that we have to focus on the sincerity touched Clara. It also made her feel insecure. How? Clara asked, crossing her arms as if protecting herself from the emotions that were rising up inside her. You just wanted to use this to distract the competition. Didn't you? I'm just a piece in your game. Daniel paused before answering. Our presentation. Our strategy. We can't risk our feelings. Let's focus on our work and set everything else aside. Her heart was conflicted. She didn't want to ruin everything they had built because of feelings that scared her. Daniel agreed. Albeit reluctantly. You're right. We need to stay focused. But Clara. I want you. Sincerity touched Clara. It also made her feel insecure. Change how Clara asked. Crossing her arms as if trying to protect herself from the emotions that were rising up inside her. You just wanted to use this to distract the competition. Didn't you? I'm just a piece in your game. Daniel hesitated before answering. To know that I appreciate you. Not just professionally. Personally. Too. His words were like a small breath of fresh air. Clara knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. The atmosphere between them changed. Confusion still lingered. Clara felt slightly relieved. She knew the situation was far from simple. They would need to sincerity touched Clara. It also made her feel insecure. How should I change? Clara asked. Crossing her arms as if trying to protect herself from the emotions that were rising up inside her. You just wanted to use this to distract the competition. Didn't you? I'm just a piece in your game, Daniel answered. Pausing to gather his thoughts. Find a middle ground between what is real and what is fake until the moment comes to face the truth. The game will end. Everything can change. Clara felt there was more at stake in their performance now. She knew she had to prepare for what was ahead. As they finished breakfast, Daniel seemed calmer. Though the tension in the air remained. Clara realized that the conversation they had shared could be the starting point for a new chapter. The instability of their situation left her uneasy. The facade they had built together was transforming into an emotional dilemma that could no longer be ignored. So, what do we do next? Daniel asked. Breaking sincerity touched Clara. It also made her feel insecure. How should I change? Clara asked. Crossing her arms as if trying to protect herself from the emotions that were rising up inside her. You just wanted to use this to distract the competition. Didn't you? I'm just a piece in your game. Daniel hesitated before answering. The awkward silence that had settled between them. We need to review our presentation for the client. Yes. Absolutely. But we need to pay close attention to the details. We can't let our emotions get in the way. Clara replied. Trying to stay calm. We need to focus on the idea we want to present and how we can enhance it. Sincerity touched Clara. It also made her feel insecure. Change how you ask. Clara said. Crossing her arms as if trying to protect herself from the emotions that were rising up inside her. You just wanted to use this to distract the competition. Didn't you? I'm just a piece in your game, Daniel said. Pausing to think before answering. The potential of our project. I agree, Clara said. Looking at him with a sense of intensity she wasn't used to. In his gaze. There was a mix of determination and vulnerability that made her pause. The emotional chaos between them wasn't just a jumble of confused feelings. It was also shaping their relationship. That alarmed her. Clara couldn't ignore how she was starting to feel about Daniel. The tension between Clara and Daniel had grown after their honest conversation. They decided to focus on the tasks of the trip. Both were aware that they were nervous. The next day was a big day for the company. They would present the new product they had developed. Clara woke up early, feeling a mix of nervousness and excitement. The event could be the breakthrough they needed to boost the company. The pressure only made her feel more conflicted. Pretending to be a couple was becoming harder to manage, especially as her feelings for Daniel. This internal struggle made everything more complicated. The idea of maintaining the karate made her anxious. As she prepared, Clara organized the equipment and reviewed the presentation one last time. She practiced aloud, trying to envision what might happen in front of the audience. Daniel arrived looking focused. Clara noticed the shadow of worry on his face. He seemed anxious. She wondered if Daniel's insecurities were growing because of what was happening between them. The tension between them was almost tangible, like a storm about to break at any moment. The room was full of people who could give them money or help with their business. The mood was lively, with people talking and laughing. Clara couldn't relax. The exciting energy around her was different from the problems in her mind. She felt worried about her job and her relationship with Daniel. Clara and Daniel spoke confidently about the new products and answered questions from the audience. They used the natural way they worked together, which made them both feel better. But during a break, one of the investors asked a question that surprised Clara. Everyone here was curious about the secret to being such a successful couple. The audience laughed. Clara became nervous. The question was a chance to make their act seem more real. Inside, she felt insecure. She sensed the opportunity. The audience laughed. Clara became nervous. This question was a chance for them to seem like a good couple. They felt insecure. Daniel answered with a playful remark, "It's simple. Trust and communication are key. If you don't trust your partner, nothing works right." He looked at Clara for support. She smiled. Inside, she felt conflicted. His words were true. She wasn't sure how much longer she could act this way. Daniel said, "It's simple, trust and communication are key. If you don't trust your partner, nothing works right." He glanced at Clara for support, outwardly. She smiled. Inside, she felt conflicted. His words carried a kernel of truth. She wasn't sure how much longer she could maintain this act without losing herself in the role she was playing. After the presentation, the event transitioned into a cocktail hour where guests mingled and discussed industry trends. As Clara and Daniel moved through the crowd, conversations about their relationship continued to surface. One of the executives noticed their closeness and made a more subtle comment. "You two make a great team. Not just at work. Outside of it, too." Those words echoed in Clara's mind, the thought that everyone was watching, waiting for confirmation of the lie they were living, made her feel increasingly exposed. But she needed answers while they conversed. She decided to discreetly bring. Daniel replied with a playful comment. "It's simple. Trust and communication are essential. If you don't trust your partner, nothing works right." He looked at Clara for support. She smiled outwardly. Internally, she felt conflicted. His words were true. She wasn't sure how much longer she could continue this act without. "Daniel, why did you take the risk of using this relationship as a strategy? Aren't you worried it could harm your reputation?" Daniel looked at her seriously. "I thought a relationship would give us credibility and draw investors' attention. But now I realize it might be more of a burden than I expected. I feel." Daniel replied with a playful comment, "It's simple. Trust and communication are essential. If you don't trust your partner, nothing works right. He looked at Clara for support. She smiled outwardly. Internally, she felt conflicted. His words were true. She wasn't sure how much longer she could pretend without feeling it was wrong. She thought, I should have been more honest from the start. At that moment, Clara decided she couldn't keep pretending nothing was happening. She realized, the truth is, I can't keep faking this. It's affecting me. She asked him, what about you? How do you really feel about this situation? To her surprise, Daniel sighed. He replied, I'm drawn to you, Clara. That's made everything. Daniel replied with a playful comment, it's simple. Trust and communication are essential. If you don't trust your partner, nothing works right. He looked at Clara for support. She smiled outwardly. Internally, she felt conflicted. His words were true. She wasn't sure how much longer she could pretend without things getting more complicated. I don't know how to tell what's real and what's part of the show. When Mariana made her comment, I realized we might have gone too far. A heavy silence hung between them as they realized the reality of their situation. Clara knew they would have to face the truth about their feelings at some point. What would that mean for their future? The facade they had created was on the verge of collapsing. The consequences could no longer be ignored, lost in her thoughts. Clara felt the atmosphere of the event shifting after her candid conversation with Daniel. She was more confused than ever, she knew she needed to address. Daniel replied with a playful comment, it's simple. Trust and communication are essential. If you don't trust your partner, nothing works right. He looked at Clara for support. She smiled outwardly. Internally, she felt conflicted. His words contained some truth. She wasn't sure how much longer she could continue this act without. The situation between them only made her more uncertain. The cocktail hour continued with people chatting excitedly. Clara felt more and more distant, consumed by her inner turmoil. After a few moments, she decided to go outside for some fresh air. She walked out onto the hotel terrace, where the view of the illuminated Daniel replied with a playful comment, it's simple. Trust and communication are essential. If you don't trust your partner, nothing works right. He looked at Clara for support. She smiled outwardly. Internally, she felt conflicted. His words were true. She wasn't sure how much longer she could keep up this act without. City helped calm her restless mind. The cool breeze provided temporary relief. The peace didn't last long. Within minutes, Daniel joined her, sensing she needed space. Are you okay? Daniel asked, his concern evident. Clara hesitated before answering. I'm trying to make sense of all this. It's hard to tell what's real and what isn't. Mariana was making things difficult. It was even more complicated, Clara admitted, feeling vulnerable as she opened up. Daniel took a deep breath. The truth is, I didn't want it to come to this. I thought it would be simple. You've become important to me. I never planned to get this involved. Then why did you choose me? With Mariana breathing down her neck. It's even more complicated, Clara admitted, feeling vulnerable as she opened up. Daniel took a deep breath. The truth is, I didn't want it to come to this. I thought it would be simple. You've become important to me. I never planned to get this involved. Then why did you choose me? Daniel, Clara asked, crossing her arms. Her expression was a mix of worry and frustration. I know you used me as part of a plan. Why me? Daniel hesitated, looking down at the ground. To be honest, I thought you'd be easy to convince. I didn't think you'd care this much. Those words hit Clara hard. She couldn't stay in the same room. Clara crossed her arms, looking worried and upset. I know you used me as part of a plan. Why me? Daniel hesitated, looking down at the ground. To be honest, I thought you'd be easy to convince. I didn't think you'd care this much. Those words hit Clara hard. She couldn't stay in the same room as Daniel. I'm hurt. Especially my heart. I need to leave, she said, turning her back on the event. She was certain she needed to step away. Clara felt anger and disappointment coursing through her. She couldn't keep going with this. The parade had become unsustainable. Clara rushed out of the hall, feeling suffocated. Everything hurt. Especially her heart. I need to leave, she said, turning her back on the event. She was certain she needed to step away. Clara felt anger and disappointment coursing through her. She couldn't keep going with this. The parade had become too much for her to handle. Clara rushed out of the hall, feeling suffocated by the pressure of the situation. The echoes of laughter and conversation faded as she walked further away. The weight of disappointment clung to her. She didn't know where she was going. She only wanted to escape the space that left her feeling exposed and vulnerable. The fresh air on the terrace wasn't enough to calm her agitated mind. Daniel followed, determined to catch up to her. Clara, wait. He called. She didn't stop. Mariana's words about the parade had made her question everything and everyone around her. The emotions between them were confusing. Now she felt she needed to protect herself. Clara. We need to talk. Daniel insisted. Daniel caught up to her in a small outdoor area of the hotel, where only a few people lingered. He was out of breath and sounded very urgent. Please don't go. What happened in there is nothing compared to what you mean to me. She turned to him, tears in her eyes. How can you say that after everything I've heard? You used me. Isn't it obvious what we are? Now. The first time. I see this was just a business plan for you. Frustration and sadness colored her voice. Daniel hesitated for a moment. You don't understand. I never wanted this to happen. The plan was to distract the competition. Honestly. I thought I could keep emotions out of it. I can't do this anymore, Clara. You've become important to me. Clara took a deep breath and ran her hand through her hair. That's not enough, honestly. I don't know how you can justify this parade that I'm not a chess piece that you can move around as you like. This relationship started as a plan. Now it feels like we're trapping each other. Daniel looked at Clara. He felt the weight of her words. He had let himself get caught up in the moment. Now the truth was clear between them. I really care about you, he said. But I didn't know how to handle this. The pressure of maintaining the parade has made. Clara looked at him. She felt confused and needed to protect herself. We need to talk, Daniel insisted. Confused. Daniel insisted. Everything was confusing. At that moment, they both realized their future was unraveling in a sea of uncertainties. If you chose me because you thought I was easy to manipulate, then I don't think I can keep going. What happened between us cannot be reduced to a strategy. Daniel's expression revealed his internal struggle. He stepped closer to Clara. What if? Instead of walking away, We tried to be honest about who we are. I want this to work. I know you need space still. I want you to know that what's happening between us is real to me. My feelings are genuine. Clara, but can't you see that if we're honest, everything could fall apart? What happened on this trip could have consequences for both of us. I'm torn between wanting to connect with Daniel and the need to protect myself. Clara said. Maybe the truth is what we need now, Daniel said. His voice firm. If we have to confront how we really feel, then so be it. We can't keep living in uncertainty. Daniel felt agitated. He was determined to catch up to Clara. He called her name. She didn't stop. Mariana's words about the parade had made her question everything and everyone around her. The emotions between them were confusing. Now she felt she needed to protect herself. Clara. We need to talk. It's time to decide what we want from each other and if it's worth it. Daniel insisted. Clara felt divided. The idea of opening up completely scared her. At the same time, a small part of her wanted to trust Daniel. What they had built might be real. The reality was that every step they took now could lead to either a complete break or a new connection. The choice was imminent. It would require courage. Clara and Daniel stood in the small outdoor space of the hotel. Enveloped in an unyielding tension, the beautiful view around them went unnoticed as they focused entirely on each other. What was at stake was far more important than any scenery or festivity. The pretense they had built was on the verge of collapse. The truth had to be confronted. That we need to speak openly, without masks. Clara began deciding that honesty was the only way forward. I need to understand how you really feel about me. What does this mean to you? I can't leave with uncertainty. Daniel took an agitated mind. Daniel followed, determined to catch up to her. Clara. Wait, he called. She didn't stop. Mariana's words about the parade had made her question everything and everyone around her. The emotions between them were confusing. Now she felt she needed to protect herself. Clara. We need to talk, Daniel insisted. Deep breath before answering. I wasn't prepared for what happened between us. To be honest, I thought the act was just a strategy. But as we got to know each other better, I realized this was more than a plan. I liked you. Clara. I really liked you. Clara. Clara's heart raced. Those words sounded sincere. Doubt still lingered in her mind. What if all of this is just the pressure of the situation? What if we go back and everything you feel fades away? I can't be responsible for a short-lived emotion. The feelings I have aren't short-lived. Daniel countered, trying to establish a connection. What we're experiencing is real. Yes. It may have started as a strategy. Now it matters to me. What I mean is, the truth is, I feel for you. That won't simply fade. That I'm ready to fight for it. Daniel's declaration had a profound impact on Clara. She felt a mix of hope and fear. The past month had been an emotional roller coaster, making it hard to discern what was real amidst the facade. If that's true, what do we do now? Clara asked. Anxious, how do we deal with the consequences? What will people think? Sometimes we have to take risks for what's right for us. Daniel replied that we can be honest about what happened and handle the reactions. The truth is the only opinion that matters to me now is yours. If I've pushed you away with my strategies, I'll have to rebuild your trust. As for what others might think, I can't control that. Clara hesitated, reflecting on the possibility of taking this new path. Does that mean we'd have to be seen together? Not as a fake couple. As two real people with feelings for each other. Exactly. Daniel confirmed. Resolute. Accepting. We have to be vulnerable. We have to face our feelings and the social consequences. We can't keep pretending. At first, the idea of exposing her emotions terrified Clara. It also felt liberating. The weight of their lies had been haunting her. The possibility that the truth might bring. If we're going to be honest, then we need to do it now that I'm ready to face what comes next. Their decision marked a turning point. Both knew this choice could shape what lay ahead. Clara and Daniel returned to the hotel hall. Ready to face the public's reactions. As they entered, Clara felt all eyes turn toward. Vulnerability is part of what we need to do. We have to face not only our feelings, also what this means for society. We can't keep pretending. At first, the idea of showing her emotions terrified Clara. It also felt liberating. The weight of their lies had been haunting her. The possibility that the truth might bring them. Especially Mariana. Especially. She stood nearby, watching with a provocative smile. The atmosphere was heavy with anticipation. Hello, everyone. We have something to share. Daniel began, his voice tense. The truth is, what happened on this trip started as a facade. Now we're truly together. We want to be transparent with all of you. Clara felt a sense of relief. For the first time, she was allowing herself the freedom to be honest. Whatever happened next didn't matter. They had taken the leap. Now everything could begin anew with authenticity. After Daniel's declaration, silence filled the room. All eyes were on him and Clara. The tension in the room was palpable. Vulnerability is part of what we need to do. We have to face not only our feelings, also what this means socially. We can't keep pretending. At first, the idea of exposing her emotions terrified Clara. It also felt liberating. The weight of their lies had been haunting her. The possibility that the truth might bring. The air was almost tangible. Then, whispers began to spread through the crowd. What do they mean? A facade, one guest asked. Aren't they really a couple? Another questioned. As doubts and curiosity spread, it became clear that revealing the truth was a heavy moment for Clara. But it also brought a sense of liberation. After so much confusion, vulnerability is part of what we need to do. We have to face not only our feelings, also what this means socially. We can't keep pretending. At first, the idea of exposing her emotions terrified Clara. It also felt liberating. The weight of their lies had been haunting her. The possibility that the truth might bring. Mariana, watching from a distance, seemed more irritated than surprised. Knowing Daniel for years, she couldn't resist the opportunity to provoke him. So that's what you've been doing. Using your personal life as part of a strategy. Typical of you, she said sarcastically. Even our past relationship was just business to you. Mariana. This time it's different that I don't want to turn this into a competition. Clara and I are genuinely together. This isn't a marketing ploy, Daniel replied. Trying to stay calm, he turned to Clara with an encouraging look, drawing courage. Clara continued, what we've been through is. Vulnerability is part of what we need to do. We have to face our feelings and the social implications of what we're feeling. We can't keep pretending. At first, the idea of exposing her emotions terrified Clara. It also felt liberating. The weight of their lies had been haunting her. The possibility that the truth might bring. What started as a facade became something more meaningful. Daniel is more than a colleague, he's someone who matters to me. Her voice was steady. She was nervous as she spoke. The murmurs in the hall resumed, with some people appearing satisfied and others skeptical. Daniel and Clara understood they couldn't. Vulnerability is part of what we need to do. We have to face not only our feelings, also what this means socially. We can't keep pretending. At first, the idea of exposing her emotions terrified Clara. It also felt liberating. The weight of their lies had been haunting her. The possibility that the truth might bring immediate acceptance from everyone was daunting. I hope moving forward you'll see our relationship for what it truly is. Daniel said to one of the potential investors, "We want you all to know that this won't affect our work. We're here to make things happen as a team." "I don't like lies," the investor said directly. "But I can see that you truly care about each other. It takes courage to speak the truth like this." He extended his hand to Daniel, who shook it with visible relief. Clara felt a mix of support and surprise as she observed her colleagues' reactions. Her emotions were now out in the open. The connection between her and Daniel seemed. Mariana, however, wasn't ready to let it go. "You should remember that this could have consequences. What happens when things aren't as perfect as they seem? What if this is just a fleeting romance?" she asked. Her words lingering in the air as she watched their reactions. Daniel began to show irritation. "Clara, vulnerability is part of what we need to do. We have to face our feelings and the social implications. We can't keep pretending." At first, the idea of exposing her emotions terrified Clara. It also felt liberating. The weight of their lies had been haunting her. The possibility that the truth might bring, found her strength. "Mariana, we're aware of the risks. Every relationship has its challenges. We're committed to facing them together. What brought us together is stronger than any strategy." Mariana shrugged. There was a shift in her expression. She felt jealous of Daniel. She couldn't ignore the way he looked at Clara. It was the first time he'd ever looked at her that way. Even though Mariana wasn't sure, she knew there was something real between them. The guests started to feel less tense. People started talking again. The team started to support Clara and Daniel. They knew that being real was an example for the others, even though they were facing challenges. After the big reveal, Clara and Daniel went to a quiet place to rest. "You did a great job today. I'm proud of us. I'm glad we did this," Daniel said, looking into her eyes. "That it was risky. I think we made the right choice. That we needed to own our feelings. No matter what others might say, now we can live truthfully." Daniel nodded and took her hand. "Let's make this work together, not just at work. In everything ahead of us." Clara smiled, feeling that they were finally ready to face the future with authenticity and truth. A new chapter awaited them. They were ready for it. Clara and Daniel were determined to write their story from that moment onward. After the revelation of their relationship, their lives began to change. When they returned to the office, the team reacted differently to their relationship. Some were surprised, while others doubted its authenticity. Over time, however, the team began to adapt to the new dynamic between the two. The honesty that emerged during the event created a renewed sense of trust in the team. Clara and Daniel were determined to write their story from that moment onward. After the revelation of their relationship, their lives began to change. When they returned to the office, the team was skeptical. Some were surprised, while others doubted the relationship was real. Over time, however, the team began to accept the new dynamic between the two. The honesty that had emerged during the event created a renewed sense of trust in the team. The team acknowledged that there was something real and genuine between Clara and Daniel. The initial shock of the revelation was unsettling. As time went on, interactions with the team became more seamless. Clara and Daniel started to be seen as a true team. Gradually, their colleagues came to believe that their relationship could bring fresh energy and motivation to the company. With new connections and restored trust, the workplace atmosphere became more collaborative and light-hearted, recognizing the authenticity of Clara and Daniel's relationship. They faced some initial discomfort. However, as time passed, they found it easier to work well together. Over time, their colleagues came to believe that their relationship could energize and motivate the company. With new connections and restored trust, the workplace atmosphere became more cooperative and positive. A few weeks later, Daniel entered Clara's office, looking very happy. "We did it, Clara. The client loved us. They were thrilled with our proposal. We got the project," he announced, his eyes shining with joy. "That's amazing news. We have to celebrate," Clara exclaimed, jumping out of her chair and running to hug Daniel enthusiastically. "None of this would have been possible without you," Daniel said, pulling Clara closer and kissing her passionately. The kiss was brief but full of emotion. When they pulled apart, Clara smiled, her heart racing with a mix of achievement and affection for him. "We should throw a team celebration. Everyone worked so hard on this project," Clara said. A few weeks later, Daniel entered Clara's office, smiling broadly. "We did it, Clara," he exclaimed. "The client loved us. They were thrilled with our proposal. We got the project. That's amazing news," Clara exclaimed, jumping out of her chair and running to hug Daniel with enthusiasm. "Great idea," Daniel agreed. "Let's plan something special. We need to acknowledge all the effort that went into this." In the following days, Clara and Daniel worked together to organize the celebration. They decided to host the event in a space at the office where the entire team could gather. Their goal was to create a relaxed atmosphere where everyone could feel comfortable celebrating. As they planned, Clara and Daniel not only handled the logistics, also ensured the party reflected the positive energy they had cultivated within the team. Clara, with her knack for organization, focused on the details, while Daniel made sure to encourage everyone's participation. Together, they created an event that symbolized their shared journey and the renewed sense of unity in the workplace. On the day of the party, the office was decorated with colorful balloons and congratulatory banners. Tables were set up with snacks and drinks. Clara moved around, organizing everything, while Daniel made. A few weeks later, Daniel entered Clara's office, smiling broadly. "We did it, Clara," he exclaimed. "The client loved us. They were thrilled with our proposal. We got the project. That's amazing news," Clara exclaimed, jumping out of her chair and running to hug Daniel with enthusiasm. Sure. Every detail was just right. As the team began to arrive, the joyful and celebratory atmosphere was contagious. Everyone was smiling, greeting one another, having a good time. Clara and Daniel exchanged glances, happy to see the team so energized. Midway through the party, Daniel took the floor. "Everyone, I want to thank each of you," he said. A few weeks later, Daniel entered Clara's office, smiling broadly. We did it. Clara, he exclaimed. The client loved us. They were thrilled with our proposal. We got the project. That's amazing news. Clara exclaimed, jumping out of her chair and running to hug Daniel with enthusiasm. This project was only possible because of teamwork. And I'm also happy to say that along with gaining this client, I've also won Clara's heart. We hope this new chapter brings us even more success, he said, looking at Clara with a warm smile. Applause and cheers filled the room. Some shouted cheers to the couple, while others offered congratulations. A few weeks later, Daniel entered Clara's office, smiling widely. We did it, he exclaimed. The client loved us. They were thrilled with our proposal. We got the project. That's amazing news. Clara exclaimed, jumping out of her chair and running to hug Daniel with enthusiasm. Clara looked at Daniel, feeling appreciated and supported. It was a special moment. Thank you all for being here, Clara said. Let's enjoy this evening and celebrate our achievements together. Clara raised her glass for a toast, to the team. To success. To new partnerships. Let's play a little game for those who only read the comments, Clara said. Type Coca. Clara and Daniel were overjoyed. We did it. Daniel exclaimed. The client loved us. Clara said. They were thrilled with our proposal. We got the project. That's amazing news. Clara exclaimed, jumping out of her chair and running to hug Daniel. Cola in the comments, and only those who make it this far will get it. Now, let's continue the story. The party continued with lively music, laughter, dancing. Team members mingled, creating new connections and strengthening their bonds. Clara and Daniel danced together, happy to be united both personally and professionally. Each step on the dance floor seemed to reaffirm the chemistry between them. Later, as the party remained in full swing, Daniel pulled Clara aside to a quieter corner. I'm still amazed at how much you give yourself to everything, Daniel said. You've brought new energy to the team, he said, holding her hands. You've inspired me to do my best. Daniel, what we're building together means so much to me, Clara replied, looking into his eyes with emotion. Being with you has changed my life. Before, I was so focused on work that I didn't realize how valuable personal connections could be. You've shown me that I can be professionally driven and build something at the same time. Meaningful, Daniel said, expressing his true admiration. I truly appreciate that, Daniel. Even though this started as a trick, I'm starting to believe it can all be real. Every day I spend with you, my doubts fade a little more, Clara responded, her eyes shining. That's exactly what I want you to feel. And I want us to keep building this together. Not just our relationship, our careers too, Daniel declared, gripping Clara's hands more firmly. In that light, there was a festive mood. Clara realized there was a chance for a future together. The thought of turning what began as a risky plan into a real relationship excited her. Feeling encouraged by the trust they were building, she said, let's keep supporting each other and make this work. I want our team to see that we're a solid unit, bound not just by work, by true feelings. Daniel smiled, admiring her determination. He knew challenges would always come. With Clara by his side, he felt ready to face anything. You're right. This party is just the beginning. I want everyone to see that we're more than just colleagues. We're a team. As the evening went on, Clara and Daniel joined the fun again. Laughter and music filled the room. Everyone was enjoying themselves. Daniel picked up a microphone and said, "I'd like everyone to join us again. Tonight is special for us and for all of you. Let's toast to past and future successes." A chorus of cheers echoed through the room. Clara felt the positive energy surrounding her. Then, she realized that by sharing their feelings in a supportive environment, they had not only freed themselves from the parade, also made their relationship with Daniel clearer and more genuine. Later, as everyone danced, Clara and Daniel stepped aside again for a quiet moment. She looked at him, thinking about everything they had experienced together. "Daniel, do you think we'll be able to overcome all the challenges that still lie ahead? There's so much uncertainty in the business world." "I believe we can. Clara. We've learned so much together. We've always had each other's backs. That makes everything easier. No matter what, we've got each other's back." "That's important," he replied, squeezing her hand. "I promise I'll be here for everything," he added, with a smile on her face. Clara replied, "That makes me feel more secure. We need to keep talking and trust each other." The music continued to play. The two of them were lost in their own world. Clara realized that as long as they faced their insecurities together and supported one another, they could. They achieved more than they ever dreamed. That night of celebration was more than just a team gathering. It was the start of a new chapter in Clara and Daniel's lives. Love and partnership were now a part of their lives as they prepared to face the future. The bond they had created grew stronger each day, filling them with hope for a bright future together. After the successful team celebration, Clara and Daniel continued working together. Now, with an even stronger connection. Each passing day transformed the charade they had started into something much more real. As Daniel realized how his feelings for Clara had grown, he started thinking about taking their relationship to the next level. One evening, while they were watching a movie at home, Daniel decided it was time to talk about their future. He looked at Clara, who was relaxed next to him. Her happiness was clear. The light from the TV reflected on her face. He felt the moment was right. "Clara, can I ask you something important?" "Of course. Ask me anything," she replied, turning to face him. "Do you think we're ready to take the next step in our relationship?" Daniel asked, his voice showing a mix of nerves and excitement. Clara paused for a moment, thinking about what he said. "What kind of step are you talking about?" she asked, a hint of worry in her voice. "I'm thinking about us getting married," he said clearly. "I want to truly commit to you. You're such an important part of my life." Clara sat in silence, thinking about his proposal. Marriage was a big step. While she supported the idea of building a life with Daniel, she was worried about the responsibilities it would bring. "Daniel, do you really think we're ready for this? Not just because of the parade we started. Because of all the changes we've been through. What if things don't work out?" Daniel took a deep breath, sensing her need for reassurance. "I want this because I see a future with you. The challenges we faced and the parade we created brought us closer in a unique way. I believe we've already overcome so much. It's made us stronger. I'm not saying everything will be perfect. I want to face life with you. I didn't expect this to happen so soon." Clara admitted sincerely, I can see how our relationship has grown. Sometimes I'm scared of taking this step and how we'll handle it. What will people think? Our story started in such an unusual way. Yes. It did. Our story isn't about what others think. What matters is how. What we feel about each other is what matters. Daniel insisted. I truly want this. What do you think? Clara asked. She thought about everything they had been through, the struggles and the joys. Deep down, she felt she could be happy with Daniel. After a few moments of reflection, she finally answered. All right. I'll do it. I'm ready to take this step. Daniel felt deeply about his relationship with Clara. He smiled broadly and held Clara's hand. Let's get married, he said. The happiness in his eyes was contagious. Clara couldn't help but smile. She thought about a life with him. Daniel was determined to plan a special wedding. He wanted the ceremony to be more than just a union. It had to be a celebration of the victories they had achieved together. They chose a beautiful venue where friends and family could gather. In the days that followed, they worked together on the arrangements. The planning was filled with laughter and lively discussions about every detail: the flowers, the music, the food, of course, the guest list. Clara felt her nerves settle as they made each decision together. When the wedding day arrived, it was clear that after so much uncertainty, they were ready to commit to a new marriage. The day was sunny. The venue was beautifully decorated with flowers that symbolized their love. Friends and family filled the room, offering their support for the couple's new chapter. As the ceremony began, Clara walked down the aisle. Daniel stood waiting, filled with anticipation. When he saw her, his heart swelled with love. Clara looked radiant. Daniel knew that everything they had endured had only brought them closer during the ceremony. They exchanged heartfelt vows. Daniel looked into Clara's eyes and said, I promise to support you every step of the way. You are the reason for my smile. I want to build a future with you. Clara, overwhelmed with emotion, replied, I promise to be your partner in everything. To share both the joys and the challenges. I want to grow with you and build a life filled with love and respect. After the vows, everyone moved to the reception, where the celebration was just beginning. The venue was beautifully decorated with soft lighting and elegantly arranged tables. Clara and Daniel, now officially married, were the center of attention. Friends and family, they gathered to congratulate them. Guests started dancing. Clara and Daniel joined in. The lively music set a joyful tone. Everyone was happy. Daniel pulled Clara onto the dance floor. As they moved together, he looked into her eyes and said, This is just the beginning. I'm so happy to have you. Clara smiled by my side. Her insecurities melted away as her feelings were affirmed. I know we still have challenges ahead. Tonight everything feels perfect. I'm so grateful you chose me, she replied as they continued to dance. Later, while enjoying a snack during the reception, Daniel asked, Do you think we made the right choice? How do you feel now that we're officially a couple? Yes. I do. I feel like everything we went through, the struggles, even the parade, has made us stronger. Now it feels like we're ready for anything. My life with you is what I want. Clara answered, visibly more at ease. The celebration carried on with heartfelt speeches and well wishes for the newlyweds. Mariana was still there, watching from far away. She realized that Clara and Daniel's relationship was real. This new relationship between them was strong and wouldn't be easily broken. Mariana had known Daniel for a long time. She knew he was serious about his work, even if he was a bit different in his relationships. As the night went on, Clara and Daniel received a special gift from a close friend, a box filled with photos and messages. These photos and messages captured significant moments shared with friends over the years. Between laughter and tears, Clara and Daniel were deeply moved by the thoughtful gesture. It was a reminder of the special moments they had shared together, the foundation they had built together. When the party finally came to an end, Daniel took Clara's hand. Let her out of the venue. You were amazing today. I'm so glad we decided to take this step together, he said, gazing into her eyes. Me too, Daniel. I hope we can continue building this together. Above all, I hope we'll always have this connection, whether during events like this or in tough moments, was important to Clara. Her determination was clear. Their journey was just beginning. Together, Clara and Daniel were ready for the next phase of their lives. What had started as a game had turned into something real. Both knew that building, the future, was now in their hands. They walked out into the rain. That didn't stop them from sharing a passionate kiss. With their hands together, they were ready to face their future together. What did you think of Clara and Daniel's story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Rate this story from 0 to 10. What score would you give it? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to follow all our stories. Click here on the end screen to see more exciting stories.